in-depth race recaps.
He's shown speed, he's shown dominance at other racetracks.
Pit stops and strategy.
Hell yeah, boys. Let's go. Race strategy, man.
Fantasy racing insights.
Talking about being a team in the summer. We did it. Good job, boys.
Your weekly home for everything Ryan Blaney and Team 12.
Good job, Timmy. Here's for many more, fellas. Thank you.
This is the Team Blaney podcast.
Let's go race for a championship.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 210 of the Team Blaney podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. This week, we're here to break down Ryan Blaney's run in the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway. Steve, welcome back to another episode of the show, and I should probably maybe be welcoming myself back because I have not been here for the last 2 weeks. So again, thank you to you and Kate, and then you for the first time, I think, in our history flying solo.
Yeah, that was crazy
last week.
So a last minute thing, but it went well. Actually, I didn't know I could talk so much.
I know. I mean, it's funny. I think you went even longer than when you guys usually do the takeover episodes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you again for you guys for handling it and keeping everything pointed in the right direction for the last couple of weeks. But I am excited to talk about this weekend's race at Martinsville. We were, we might need a little bit of 10 runner. You're correct too, as we go through this. I think we're both coming at this with some positivity though, like we usually do. But we were both there at the track. We had an opportunity to meet a lot of fellow Blaney fans. It was a little bit of a Team Blaney reunion. We got to, again, you were there, Kate was there, I was there, my wife Tara was there. The Mariottis, who are great contributors to Team Blaney, Jerry and Kirsten, they were in attendance. Our friends Justin and Chelsea, other great contributors to us, were in attendance. Hannah is another follower of ours, was there. Another follower, Sarah, was down in the pits and stuff, giving updates. So tons of fans of Ryan and followers and everybody else was all there in attendance this weekend. And we've seen that before, and it's brought some good vibes to the weekend. And Ryan really needed all he could get this week for sure.
I feel bad that I didn't run into Justin and Chelsea at all. I know they had, I'm just the way it went all weekend. Like, we were in just different spots at different times. Like Saturday, actually, we did get together Saturday for practice qualifying. That's great. Went down to the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation tent Saturday. Saw Leah, Patty. That was great. And Uncle Dale was there at the tent Saturday. And I guess you saw him Sunday. So that was awesome. Still working on getting him. We'll get Uncle Dale here. Maybe during the off season, that'll be one of the off season things we'll do. Get Uncle Dale in here. And while I was at the tent, the guys from the Racing Addicts podcast got a hold of me. They wanted to meet, and that was really kind of cool because I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Racing Addicts podcast, but
for sure,
it's Alex, Kevin, Mitch were the three that I met, and Alex is actually a Ryan fan, and he actually texted me during the race. Even at one point early in the first stage, he texted me a gif of a guy pretending to fish. So he was like, reel another one in. It was really, really great to have that kind of like good vibes from people, because of how Saturday went. But those guys are, if you've ever seen any of their stuff, I get a lot of the clips. That's the funny part, and a lot of their clips are really well done. I get them on TikTok, and then their YouTube. I think their YouTube clips is what they are from their show. So, yeah, if you ever get a chance to check out Alex, Kevin, and Mitch, and talk to them, they might want to actually do something with us on the off season at some point too. Maybe we'll do some content with them.
I think they do a really great job. And like you said, I know the one where it's got the Blaney hat on. They have a cool little set that they record in. You see like the die cast around, and it's always good when those podcasts that are more like generally NASCAR based. It's good to have at least a Blaney fan on there to stand up for our guy.
I guess they were at the truck race Wednesday night and all wearing Lane Riggs shirts.
Okay.
That's greght. They're following Josh's guys, so that was kind of cool. They were all together on it. So, the weekend overall, then like Sunday morning, you guys were at Daniel's signing. And I hit the tweet up because they were at the same time. I hit the tweet up. Tweet up was great. We had saw Bob, Jordan, got to talk to Jordan for a couple minutes, got to talk to Jeff for a couple minutes. And at the beginning, this first scrum, Jeff's there, and it's really, really funny because somebody asked him about his thoughts on how the day was going to go. He's like, I think Blaney's going to win. He said that, right? After what happened, quality, he says, I think he's the best one out there. I think he's going to win. And then he turns and sees me standing there, and and he points at me and he goes, "You're the big Blaney fan here." He says, "What do you think?" and I'd had an evening to reflect on it, and I did what I usually do, and that I rebound and I go, "Hey, he got him right where we want him, all right in front of us where we could see him." And I says, same thing that the thought process is there's no worry about stage points, and Jeff had mentioned that, and I said the same thing. I said, so methodically make their way to the front, and I says hopefully they don't need some sort of strategy to get there. In other words, hopefully he's fast enough, the car's fast enough, and by I says they get to the third stage, he's in the top 10. I says look out, game on. And made a bunch of people smile. People come up and talk to me after the scrum broke up just based on that, and good. I was hoping to feed off good energy and positive stuff, and what we saw was definitely that too. So
yeah, and I mean, this was I know you've been there several times. This was our third trip to Martinsville.
mm-hmm.
We've been to 2 fall races, including the 2023 win, and then this past week, and then we went to the spring race in 2024. And people always ask all the time, because we've gone to a lot of tracks over the last several years, like, what's your favorite track? And I always it's funny because our home track is Daytona, but I always lean toward Homestead. But Atlanta, I know Daytona's our home track, but it's almost feels like Atlanta is, because that's like one of our favorite places to go. But the 3 times we've been to Martinsville, I mean, it's an iconic racetrack. It's a historic racetrack, but the facility, the grandstands and everything is fantastic. The racing, I think even this race specifically, and even the fall race last year, and whatever they did with this left side tire, and whether it's the tire and the temperature and everything worked out, I thought the racing was actually a really great improvement. But Martinsville is starting to rank up there really high experience-wise. I mean, the weekend was great. I mean, the Xfinity cars, where you're nervous about them having like a terrible, chaos-filled race, they put on actually a great, respectable show with a great, respectable finish. Truck race was maybe a little bit more chaotic, but if you're interested in going to a NASCAR race, and I feel like a lot of people used to tell people to go to Bristol, but I'm almost leaning towards kind of telling people to go to Martinsville. I just think it's a great experience and all around.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, I think part of it though is who we watch.
True.
And because my wife pointed that out as we're watching on as we're watching the race, right? She goes, we're watching what we watch in the first stage, and she says, I wonder how much TV is showing this. I wonder how many people. This is because when you're at a track like that, you can watch an individual car the whole way around, right? And we're watching an individual car all the way around who's just passing, right? Not everybody could do that. Not all the cars are that good. Not all the drivers are that good. No offense to some of them. But the guy we watch is that good. The car was that good. And we're seeing the excitement of that. How many other fans, if you're a fan of, I don't want to pick on anybody. Let's say the 38 or something, just to give a number. Let's say you're that fan of that guy. He might have only passed 10 cars on the day, or had some good things and bad things happen, but not, but what we saw was a constant, excitement, and then a guy at the front, and we're watching him at the front. So I take a little grain of salt, although it is, for me, it's a great experience overall, because the place is the shorter tracks like that, and being able to see all the action to me is the big thing. Because like when something happens, it's not like scanning the whole area to find it. It's like, oh, there it is. It happened, right there. It happened over here, but it's not like at the bigger tracks, where you and they're in the distance, and then they come back to you. And then, and if this guy's over here and they're spread out, like Michigan's like this, they get spread out, and one guy's down this end of the track, another guy's down that end of the track, and something happens, you might totally miss the whole thing and need to wait for the replay. So
I will say, much like Bristol, there's really not like a bad seat there. Our first 2 experiences there, we sat up really high. The one time we sat up lower, but kind of maybe more towards the middle of the grandstand, but both on the front stretch those times. Again, both great seats. But this time we were in the middle of 1 and 2, kind of under the press box area. And I was like, this is awesome because
Yeah.
you could see down the front stretch, you could see down the back stretch, you could see everyone coming into turn 1 and 2 like right at you. And I thought maybe we wouldn't be able to see 3 and 4 that well, but we could see 3 and 4 fine. And I was like, I mean, if I, when we do go back, because we will, I'm like, I'm gonna try to pick the seats over here again. I thought that was fantastic.
Or if I were you next time, to get down into 3 and 4 like that, because Jonathan's going to pick the pit stall over there. So
that's a good point. Every time.
Although I would say last year, the fall race, it was a pit stall up in turns 1 and 2, and we got to see a lot of the pit stops and film a couple of them from where we were. But like clockwork, if he qualifies later in the qualifying, and if they end up back a little further, he's down there in 3 and 4 at the beginning of pit road.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's going to be. So, if you're trying to plan your weekend and you want to see pit stops from the 12 team, unless they get the pole, get them down at the beginning of pit road where they come onto pit road, because he's going to be down there.
So before we get into our maybe a little bit abbreviated recap, because when we're both at races, we don't always get like super, super heavy detail, but we'll have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Most important question was, what was your hot dog count on the weekend? Did you go overboard, or were you kind of just had a couple and called it a day?
You know what? I did not get any.
Wow.
That's okay. I don't know why. Just the way things worked out. When I got there Sunday, I just wanted to eat something different, and they had a fried bologna sandwich.
Okay, I've heard people talking about that. Yeah,
there was like that thick a cut of bologna fried up, some cheese. It was beautiful. So I mean, I wanted something different, and that's what I did. Saturday was the hunt for the pretzel. I don't know if you saw me get the pretzel Saturday or not.
Okay,
but they've got these pretzel stands, and they're at all the different tracks, and it's the same setup. There's a alcohol thing and a pretzel thing, and they're underneath the same thing. And I don't know, this whole season I've tried to go get a pretzel at different points and times, and they never had any ready, or they sold out, or they didn't have any there, even though they're advertising it. This one was wild because I stood in line, waited in line for this girl to make all these mixed drinks for people, get up there. And I said, "Oh, pretzel." And she points to the two guys over there at the pretzel stand. Says, "They're right next to you." I didn't realize you could have just walked right over to them.
You got to people watch.
Well, the funny part is they didn't have a sign saying, "Right, if you want a pretzel, just come over here." They're separate or whatever. But so I did get the pretzel Saturday. The wife got a bag of 4. I think spread out over the afternoon. She got all 4. On Saturday, and then Sunday I think the same thing. I think she want to try something different. So I think she had chicken tenders or something on Saturday. So yeah,
you guys were already. Did you go in the spring too? I can't remember.
No,
not this year. Spring this year.
Yeah, not this year. I think it was Bristol was our spring race this year. So yeah, I mean, she had them, but just on Saturday, so not too bad.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. They always ask drivers every year. I think like Kyle Larson this week said, "Oh, I never eat them. It's been 10 years or something since he's had one." There's certain people that have never had one before. Some drivers at some crews go overboard. That they had some. There was a great story, though I have problems with this week's episode of the Teardown. There's a great story that Jordan told about. I think Cliff Daniels at the end of. After the race was over,
50 of them.
Which again, this is how crazy these guys are. These NASCAR, and maybe this is also just the pressure. But I'll just recap his story in case you don't listen to the Teardown. Cliff was already on the phone with guys back at the shop, or telling guys to get to the shop Sunday night because they found something during this race they want to get on the Phoenix car, and the story goes that they came back and said, "Yeah, we'll do it. We'll be there as long as you bring hot dogs back." So Cliff runs to the hot dog stand and orders. He says, "Give me everything you have left," which they said was 50 hot dogs. So crew guys love it, especially maybe the ones that are shop guys that don't get to go to the track. Some drivers like it, some don't. I think Corey LaJoie's whole gasoline, rubber, and victory line on his show is actually about what he says the hot dog tastes like. So it's iconic. Everybody knows. I mean, TV goes crazy every time over it. So maybe people get a little bit annoyed with hot dog coverage. But all of that for me to say, I had 6 spread over 2 days. And I feel bad for wasting food, but we left a couple in the bag because I got so nervous at the end of this race on Sunday that I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I couldn't anything. It was enough for me to just be able to sit and watch, and that's how it went. But that's what happens when you're a fan of a championship contender and big time auto racing, and that's kind of what we live for. So
Did you see
yeah.
Taylor's video?
Yes, that was funny too. The clip with Ryan Preece, right?
Yeah, Ryan Preece.
And I love it. Just cuts off so perfect. I mean, the way it was designed too is great. To where, she's lining up hot dogs, and she says we need 5,000 to make it around the track or something like that. And he peeks his head in the window. I need 5,000 hot dogs, and then it just cuts. I'm like, that's fantastic social media stuff. Shout out to Taylor Kitchen from Above the Yellow Line, and I think she works for motorsport.com now as well. So we got to see her too over the weekend. Her and Toby Christie had come over and chatted with us a little bit pre-race. So so again, we're bringing I think there's lots of positive stuff to talk about here with this weekend, even though in the end result isn't the result that Ryan wanted or the team wanted or pretty much all of his fans. But I'm saying we're bringing positivity. I've said to you, Facebook, that is normally a bastion of negativity this weekend, from our posts about what happened in qualifying to our posts that we did on social about what happened at the end of the race, just loaded with actual positive takes. And it was so refreshing and heartwarming that I think it brought me up out of any kind of depression I would have been in with, going through what ends up happening in this race. So I think you have a great little recap that we're going to work on here. And we'll discuss some things more as they come up. But I think there's a lot to take from this weekend and a lot to be positive about. And hopefully you guys are going to be along the ride with us as we talk it over. Yeah. And if you are depressed, if you are sad, if you're angry, maybe we can bring you out of that.
Maybe bring you out of it, because it was, like I said, and if not, when in doubt, when not having fun, make it fun. 10 runner. That's my new logo, or my new promo for them. When it's not fun, make it fun. 10 runner. Just put that in the can. We'll get that going. So here's the thing: the recap. If you're new to this, because there were some people that I caught up with at the tweet up and stuff. Where do we find you? If you're new to this recap is usually a lot more detailed. I will say that right now. When I'm at home, I'm able to watch the in-car camera, get all the audio, and then also keep track with all the data on where the running order is and so forth. So this is going to be a little bit scaled back. It's going to be a lot quicker than what it probably would have been, or at least some of the details might be missing. But we go to Saturday. Like I said, we went to the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation tent, ran into Lee and Patty there. That was great. And then ran into the guys, or actually met up with the guys from Racing Addicts podcast. Thanks to Alex, Kevin, Mitch for getting a hold of me and having us a chance to meet up. So then we get to practice, and we went and met up with we guys. That was the one thing we could meet up on. That was kind of cool. Is we got to the stands. It's general admission. We all got together. Adam, Tara, Jerry, Kirsten, able to watch practice together and qualifying together. The single lap in practice was P11 overall, and I even said this to I think, when Taylor and them were over on Sunday talking to them about this. Practice is so deceiving, and especially at Bristol and Martinsville. And the reason it's so deceiving is the first 2-3 laps sometimes, as they're getting it up to speed and trying to spread out, not everybody is in the right spot, the right place to run a lap, to get a good lap. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 laps before you get a good lap. And if a little bit of the tire is gone already by that point, it's not necessarily a great lap. So P11 was 0.11 back of the 9 and the 11 single lap. So it's hard to tell once again. Now, the only thing I could see was a 25 lap average that was third best. And, at third best, barely off of the second and the first best. So really decent there. And 66 laps run, which is interesting too, because a lot of times in that 25 minutes, if something's off, if something's not right, Ryan will just bring it in. He'll say, it's doing this, it's doing that, whatever it is. And he didn't. He ran the whole thing. When they run the whole thing, it's usually they're dialed pretty close to where they want to be. They may come in and debrief and change some things at that point.
Can I ask a question you might not know the answer to? Because you mentioned 25 lap average was 3. but after 25, after 25, it like plummeted for 30.
Yeah.
Do you know if they only count the first 30 laps, or is it like a rolling 30 lap?
It's a rolling. They don't.
Is it okay?
Because there can be guys. There have been times where guys have come off of pit road after an adjustment and done better, and then that 5 laps after they come off pit road during the adjustment, they've done better, and that 5 laps would be better than the 5 laps earlier, and move up.
Well, that doesn't help my. Well, I mean, it doesn't help my thinking was like, because there's a point in that practice where Ryan gets held up by the 22 and like several other guys, like right around that period where he would have hit the 30 laps. So I was like, maybe that's why he tanked, but also maybe it is. And then once you got so many laps on your tires, you're not going to run fast. So
here's another thing. And it didn't tank. When you watch the way he ran the practice,
well, just the standings go from third to like really far. That's what I mean by it.
Right. What I was going to say is, like, if you watch, being live at the practice is way different than watching on TV, because you watch him tick off. He tries these consistent laps. But at one point, he runs a little higher going into 1 and 2. At one point, he runs a little lower coming into 1 and 2. You know, we were sitting down that end of the track. So at certain points, he's trying different things.
Yeah, he did he ran the second lane for a long time, actually, which I think that's just, they're just trying to see if he can do anything up there. And if you'll remember from his both his wins, I think actually he made passes through the field on the outside. So I think that's probably part of his thinking, to see like, hey, does this, especially with this new left side tire, is this still a possibility? Which honestly, in the end in the race, it really wasn't this year.
Yeah. So, that's why I said practices are always so deceiving. It's great though when you win practice, you get all excited, you're fastest at this and fastest at that. But realistically, they knew they were in a certain ballpark and they were there, and they didn't have to make a lot of adjustments. So he's trying different things. He's trying some things that data wise they'll look at and they go, oh, okay, 30 laps into the run, you started running this line and it worked, and that's good. So when your tires wear out, you'll be able to run that line and be faster than other guys. So, it's always good to go and actually be able to see the practice. The TV doesn't necessarily cover it, and there'll be stuff on TV in this first run that I'm sure TV didn't show either. So 1 out for qualifying, and that was the thing that was just a mystery. The last 2 years in the fall, qualified 14th last year, qualified 11th. And we know that in the past years that he doesn't necessarily qualify great, and he'll be up into the top 10 pretty quick. But P31 was throwing me way, way off, and it just didn't make sense that it was that far off. And we didn't have our scanner during it, but Jerry did.
Yeah, and you can imagine, he wasn't excited about what happened either. But it was also just surprising because we had just watched practice, and you'll hear everybody from spotters to the TV commentators to the radio commentators saying that nobody runs Martinsville line wise like as good as Blaney does. He wraps the bottom either right on the line or like an inch above the line, and that just didn't really happen in the qualifying laps, like out of nowhere. So it just was kind of shocking. And what's funny, I didn't tell you this because it was loud at the time, but he goes and he makes the lap, and he clearly wasn't up in the top 5 or whatever they were showing on the screen, but they'll give you like the 2 lap times and then where he ended up qualifying. And at the time it said 27th. But from my view, all I saw was 7th, and I turned and looked at you, and you're like, well, he's got a lot of work to do. But you're still kind of positive about it. And I was like, I don't know. 7th's not that bad. And you're like 27th. And I was like, oh, and I looked again and I squinted. I'm like, oh, I did not expect that.
Adam needs a new prescription.
Right? I think so. So I was like, what do you mean 7th isn't that bad? And then it got way worse. And then obviously a couple more guys out qualify him, and he ends up 31st. And disappointing, but again, I think one thing, maybe it's not the best motto to have just because of how it is, but I was like, this team is an amazing team, but they do not do things the easy way almost ever. So I was like, this doesn't surprise me. And then I also remembered he qualified 32nd there once in the last couple of years in a spring race and still finished in the top 5. So
Top 5,
he can make his way through the field. But the concern was, watching practice, knowing there's a new tire, is he really going to be able to pass his way all the way up through there? And that was the big question for, fans, and for, like you said, Jeff brought that up in the tweet up, and other people pre-race were kind of talking about that. He's the 8th guy here. Of the 8 playoff guys, he qualified clearly the worst, and he's in a must-win situation. So he essentially knew Sunday was set up to be a show. And then what you talked about early on, can he get up there through speed, or is there going to have to be some weird strategy? And I will say, I don't know if it'll be in the notes or not, but there is a car that tried a strategy and it destroyed their entire day.
Yeah, it didn't work.
And I was honestly, and you can tell people, I text you and said, man, I wish they would have tried this before they fired off. And I immediately regretted that. So it tells you the dangers of even trying to go off strategy too, especially when you have a new tire. You don't know how it's going to react. So,
this race, I will say this, sometimes it's driver, sometimes it's car, sometimes it's both. These drivers are, especially the top 10, 12 guys in NASCAR, are about this far apart as far as skill level, ability, talent at certain things, right? This guy is usually more consistent at this maybe and more consistent at that, but they're this close. Sometimes it's just the car makes the difference. But on this day, it was the guy in the seat and what he was able to do with the car that he had. And
that is a good point. And just an interesting thing to bring up is the fact that the guys that are the elite guys and a guy that you think is like, some mid-pack nobody are separated by like a couple tenths. Yeah. Isn't that insane? So somebody that you think like, that guy sucks or he's not any good is just a tenth or two off of the guys that are really good. Isn't that crazy?
What did we always say about Dave back in the day is like, boy, would it be great if he was in that car?
Yep.
I'd love to see what would happen if he drove that car, and at different points in times when he did have the car, he performed quite well with it. It just didn't have a lot of opportunities with the car that other guys got, so, we've got right now, we're following a guy who's got the car and he's the flagship of the Ford, brand. And, he shows you every weekend. So, like I said, Sunday at the tweet up, I said, so it's just, hopefully it's not a strategy thing. My wife and I were talking before the race. Says, where would you think would like to see him by the end of the first stage? I said like 18th. I thought, she said 15th. I said, that'd be great. End of the first stage, up that far, past that many cars. That'd be fabulous.
Yeah. I said we had in our Discord chat, we had a similar talk. And I said, he doesn't even need to be in the top 10 until like 50 laps to go. And I was like, so he can take all race long to get up there. And honestly, I was expecting it to be a slow burn to the front. So
I was expecting one or two of the pit stops where he gained 2 or 3 spots on some of the lesser teams who don't pit as well, things like that, But actually, he ends up with the top teams, pitting with the top teams later quickly. So, it was stages of 130, 260, 500. Lap 1, there's a stack up right off the bat and jams him up into turn 3 and 4. And the next thing you know, he's running 34th. There's only 3 cars behind him. And like, oh boy, it's already like a slug, So that makes it even what he does here even like kind of more incredible because everyone's saying P31, but really he starts the race off 34th. Yep. 34th. By lap 10, he's up to 30th. At lap 12, 29th. At lap 14, 28th. At lap 16, 27th. Lap 19, 26th. Lap 20, 22, 25th. Lap 25, 24th. And then at lap 28, we had a caution for the 99 and 3 and 4. And I think on this one, the 23 actually helped him along. And pitting 4 tires, 11.20. The pit stops all day. These pit times are the NASCAR app, okay? And I don't know if the NASCAR app is different because the TV will tell you it was a 9, whatever, and but on the day he didn't lose 1 spot on pit road. Okay, not one. It was always right equal, or maybe he gained a spot, but never lost one on pit road. So they restarted in P24 at lap 35. This is where the 71 took 2 tires. 2 tires for the 71. And I didn't keep track of him here because he just becomes a, what do they call that? A moving
chicane. And this is what I was talking about. This is that strategy that a car tries. And I text you immediately when McDowell gets to the front, and I said, man, I have to wonder if they should have tried this, because it's cold out. The practice didn't show a ton of tire wear. They're not really laying a lot of rubber down. It's just would have just been left sides. You're leaning on the rights and stuff. So like, maybe, and you said you didn't want it to be strategy to get to the front, but I'm like, this would have been their ticket to the front right away. Yeah. Or even it's early enough in the race that, if it doesn't work and he slides back 5 or 6 spots, 10 spots even, it's still a net gain. But man, it does not go that. And again, the 71's driving a totally different car, totally different skill set for the driver as well. But I said it, this decision destroyed their race, and they never came back from what happens to them.
Yeah. So, but lap 37, the 24 taking the lead back. Ryan is in 23rd. At lap 47, he's up to 21st. At lap 50, 20th. Lap 53, 19th. At lap 58, 18th. At lap 67, 17th. These are all passes pretty much on the inside of somebody. At lap 73, 16th. At lap 77, 15th. At lap 83, 14th. At lap 89, 13th. At lap 93, 12th. At lap 98, 11th. It's funny is like my wife has got Twitter going too, so that we can keep an update. And the Wi-Fi is extremely good at Martinsville. And so she's able to update certain things. And Jeff Gluck has posted in the curb. He's commenting on Twitter that Ryan has moved up all these spots. I put as a reply underneath it the gif of the dog that kind of turns to the camera and smiles, with just kind of got the smirk on his face. And then as Ryan makes the top 10 on lap 106, I post the "Hi boys, I'm back" from Independence Day. I post that. I don't know if anybody caught that or not on Twitter, but I was having a blast. I was going to have fun with it no matter what happened on the day. So,
and I don't know what TV was doing, but I can tell you. So I listen to a mix. Sometimes we'll flip over to Ryan's scanner, but for the most part, when we're at the race, just to know everything that's going on in strategies, we'll listen to the MRN or PRN broadcast. Mm-hmm. The MRN broadcast talked about Ryan the whole, a majority of the time, because again, the 24 is a dominant car, gets out to the lead, and the only thing that interesting that happens for him is when he gets into lap traffic. But they're covering Ryan coming through the field. And the other cool thing is, if you do have a scanner and headset at the track and you're listening to the radio broadcast specifically for MRN, the PRN guys aren't like this, but on MRN in the commercial breaks, they all talk to each other. They tell jokes, they say funny things, but they could not stop talking about Ryan and what he was doing to come through the field. Because again, I think they were under the mindset we were. He's going to methodically make his way through and then be in contention by the end of this thing. But you see the first stage to go from 31st, technically 34th, all the way to the top 10 was just unbelievable. And you're right. It was entertaining to watch if you're at the track.
Yeah. Lap 106, he gets to the top 10 on a pass, 19 car, and he went on the outside of him. Now, it takes a lap or two to do this, but he gets on the outside of him, pins the 19 down. The 19 obviously is not handling well enough to hold him off and can't run the low line the way he wants to run the low line or come off the turn the way he wants to come off the turn. And it takes a lap or two, but Ryan completes this pass on the outside, and it just looked awesome because he's passing a playoff guy, and he's doing it on the outside of him, and he's in the top 10 now. We're not even out of the first stage. So all of a sudden, I'm changing my lineup. I had him in the garage, and I'm going to put him in the lineup, which is great because I took the 19 out of the lineup, which is even better later on. So lap 113, he's up to 9th. At lap 118, up to 8th. At lap 123, up to 7th. At lap 130 here, the 24 wins the stage. But Ryan, P7. Just fabulous to watch. That 130 laps, there was one caution in there, which kind of helped him get a little reset, re-rack him kind of a thing. But the whole time, just passing guys. And these passes, once again, at Martinsville, these passes are not like immediate. It's not like you're just closing and you get by a guy. It takes a lap or two sometimes. You get in front of him. You work your way down there. You get him on the back, and then the guy on the outside realizes after maybe a lap or two that he can't hold you off, and then you take it. But
one last note on the 71 in their strategy, just to cap that off. They lost 2 laps on this in the stage. So
yeah. Artistry. That's the word my wife wanted to use there. Wanted me to use. It's artistry what he did in the first stage. It was a master class and how to pass at Martinsville and how to drive at Martinsville, and it set up the rest of the day too.
And it wasn't even like, so people remember his drive last year to the win was aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
It was something I had not really seen from Ryan before. He's moving guys, he's moving playoff guys, he's moving, big time teams out of the way on his way because he was in a super must win situation just like this. This was more methodical and he didn't really have to, and people were showing some respect and things. So,
well, here's the thing about bumping guys, and they say that this car is a lot harder because you don't really knock them loose. They grab a gear, so forth, but you have to be able to get to the guy to begin with. So a lot of times when you bump a guy once, you bump a guy a second time, they say the third time is it. It's because the guy in front has to realize he's fast enough to get to me to bump me to begin with. If he's not fast enough to get to me to bump me, then I'm not worried about him, right? But if he can get to me once and then regroup and get to me a second time within a lap or two, I have to do something and get out of his way because he is faster than me. So that's the other thing about it is he was definitely faster.
And he was tapping people, I will say. He was letting people know, but like that run last year, he was driving.
Well, it was go time. And, and he was faster though.
So, that's what part of why this was so impressive to watch. And I think that artistry description was perfect for.
Yes, perfect. My wife came up with that. She called it the masterclass of Martinsville. Lap 141 is the restart. P8 because it chose the outside on this. By lap 193, 7th. By lap 199, 6th. And then lap 215, we get the caution for the 77. And I think this is the first one where the 99 takes into him. So teammates at future teammates at Spire Motorsports getting together.
And those guys couldn't get away from each other all race long here. And that was an interesting one because I'm watching them and he's bumping the 77 coming into one. And then they're coming out of 2 and the 77 spun around and the 99's going on. I'm like, oh, that doesn't bode well for next year. And then they have more incidents all throughout the race. So they're going to have like an off-season off-site, like a little kumbaya moment or something.
They'll ride the Dente together. Yeah. So pitting here, it's a 10.380 stop here. Restarting at lap 233 in P5. By lap 225 P3. Make a couple passes, including the 9 car here. Lap 230 here, we caution for the 41. Not pitting here, but restarting lap 236 in P3. By lap 239 P2, passing the 5 car. Now we're passing the more playoff guys. We passed the 9, we passed the 5, we're P2. And then lap 242, we got a caution here. I think there was a debris caution. I don't remember anything spinning out here. 4 tires, 10.340 stop here. And what was interesting is not everybody pitted here. This is where things kind of diverge a little bit because we are about 18 laps from the end of the stage. We're going to restart lap 249. So we're going to restart with about 11 laps to go on the stage. P11.
And he was P2.
Right, was P2. So we lost, but now we're going to find out we gain actually on this whole situation because the guys who end up having to pit at the end of the stage, 260 is the end of the stage. The 24 wins, Ryan finishes P11, stays out. It's actually of the guys in front of him, 9 of them pit. The one guy who doesn't is the 45. So the 45 actually takes the lead. Ryan is P2 for this next restart, starting on the outside row.
And we mentioned early on that we didn't want, him getting to the front or something like that to be on a strategy call. So this was really the only strategy call of the race. And The 45 we'll see is somebody, he didn't have to shuck him or anything, but
No.
he loses them relatively quickly. So this is he's on speed alone makes it to the front all the way. And then this is the only strategy call that plays into them taking control of the race.
Yeah. So, the restarts at lap 274 here, and Ryan passes him on the outside. Takes a lap or two, but pins the 45 down. The 45 can't get off the corner. Ryan does get off the corner. And then at lap 279, we get this caution for the 21 car. And this is one of those ones, like I said something to my wife about it as it's going on. She's like, oh, what are you going to do? I says, yeah, but you know what? It happened at the tail end of the field. Everybody was clear of him, and he got started back up. If they'd have just let it go, now mind you, and he wouldn't have gotten lapped or anything. He would have just been way back. But they called a caution here, and it's just one of those ones I wish they wouldn't have. I would have waited a second or two. I mean, the 41 crashed earlier, but he did it in the middle of the pack, and there were guys still coming. Yeah, because they were already spread out. But this one was early enough in the thing where they weren't spread out yet. So, but we get this restart lap 286, but he stays P1 here, and then 286, right, is that restart. I don't have any notes till lap 370. We lead 80, 90 laps, just, clicking them off, right? And it's the lap 370 is the green flag pit stops. And this is the sequence of the race where everything changes. And because you had even noted in a text or two at some point that Byron wasn't even second during a lot of this run. He gets to second, but he's still like 2-3 seconds back of Ryan. They're running through lap traffic. And I feel, we want to play ifs and buts, mind you, but I feel that if this green flag cycle takes place and goes through, and then it just finishes the race like this, it might have been, maybe it was close. Maybe it would have been close, but it would have been a much better shot than what we end up seeing by regrouping everybody and getting close to each other again. So,
and while Ryan it was different because Ryan was in the lead this time, it is how the last two wins there have worked out to where there was a long green run to the end. So, and I said the same thing to you. I'm like, man, I wish and we're big fans of green flag runs here because we like to see races play out, and also because Ryan always has a fantastic long run car. But we both said, man, I wish this would have just stayed green to the end, because it would have been, could he have just kept getting enough lap cars between him? Things get mixed up on the green flag cycle. Like, I wish we could have just seen whether or not the 24 would have still driven his way up, like Ryan has done in the past, to eventually win the race still. Right.
Would there have been adjustments that would have hurt or helped over a longer run and things like that? We never know. Once again, we play if and buts with this part of it. But the fun part here, we do pit. At least lap 375 of the 24 pits. At lap 376, Ryan hurries up and pits so that there's no real. But we get this caution while we're running down pit road
immediately.
And this is the 51's tire, and I don't want to go on a rant, but I'm about ready to go on a rant about the 51 car. Every week now, something goes wrong. I know Baldwin's over there, and I love Tommy, but dude, we get that car off the track. It's I don't know if it's the car, if it's the driver, it's the combination, but every week there's a freaking caution.
One, I can't remember. I feel like the one you said was the debris caution may have been the wheel coming off, but
I think this was the tire, because it happens
either way. Either way, and again, the other, and again, I don't want to stand up for them. They rent their crew too, so blame whoever they're paying. I don't know
I guess
who they're renting it from, but you're right. This is multiple times.
Yeah,
they changed the race. They are getting the lowest. I don't want to say the lowest because these are new guys, but the lowest of the low on the totem pole of developmental crew guys. But it always just seems to happen at the worst time. But they're going to start with all these suspensions they've had. They're going to run out of guys. But
so at this point, the way it works out, Ryan is 5th overall, and the 34, the 21, and the 41 are in front of him and still have to pit. So it all cycles
on the lead lap. because that's the immediate thing. When
Yeah.
stuff like this happens, we're like looking. They don't have a pylon. We're
Yeah.
trying to get the phone app to refresh. Like,
My phone's
Hannah's
working.
with us, and she's like, "Is this good or is this bad?" Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it ends up being, he ends up being fifth and still in the lead lap. So,
which is crucial.
yeah. And so, cycles back to the lead, and we restart lap 389 from P1 here. And at lap 398, we get another caution for the 77.
And even here, even that restart, if that restart would have, if it would just stayed green to the end, because he got a great jump on this one.
Yeah, he got a great jump. He got himself out to about a half second lead. And I would just wanted to see lap traffic. I wanted to see what would happen with lap traffic on a long run, not on a short run. We get a restart lap 404 here. And like I said, by lap 443, here's a 5/10 of a second lead again. And it was lap 256 here is where he loses the lead, battling the 24, and there was lap traffic, and I think you said it was the 10 car on the outside. Ryan tries to get underneath the 10, but also at the same time, William is able to get underneath Ryan. And down in 1 and 2, they kind of bump a little bit, knocks Ryan up the track a hair, knocks the 10 way off, off the beat. And the radio was interesting because Ryan did kind of ask if he gave enough room. He wanted to kind of know if it was his fault more than it was Williams' fault, which was interesting. And truthfully, Tim is very honest. If Tim says it was Williams' fault, he would have told him, and then Ryan would have came back and tried to find a way to get back to him and return the favor. But they didn't do that. And once again, you got to be fast enough to get back to the guy sometimes too. And that doesn't end up happening. We end up getting this caution at lap 482. And it was a 10.260 stop. So in second, out second. And I got with a question, not 2 tires. Okay, for some reason, TV put 2 tires up there, and people thought, how did he not come out with the lead on a 2-tire stop? He didn't take 2 tires. So whoever was watching that on TV, I wish the TV people, because they've done that a couple of times in the last couple of weeks on TV where they've showed somebody who they said took a 2-tire stop, and their stop was a 10 point something or 11 point something. No, they took 4 tires. And they came off pit road second, barely though. I mean, they were really close to William. I think really William's stop when I looked it up was like a 10-3 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
they came out almost side by side.
Almost side by side coming off pit road. I mean, if he could have got control of it, it would have been great because we're going to restart with only 10 to go.
So, question before this caution comes out, because a few laps went by after he got passed, and he was kind of getting to him a little bit, but then William stretched it out enough. Like, were you content at that point? Like, I could already see after that restart, you said he got to like a 5/10 lead or something like that, but like the 24 had kept it closer than anybody on any restart had kept it to Ryan after like 10 laps. And I was like, this is not going to go well in traffic. And what we saw, and we didn't really talk about it too much, what we saw in traffic is a lot of the 12 not having friends,
right?
He ran into a ton of Chevrolets, and what we saw, and again, this is how it is. We saw, at least in my opinion, Ryan would get up to the guy, and the guy's racing him hard to stay. And even some of them were multiple laps down. Ryan gets by. Next guy comes, they pull over for William. The only guy I saw, and he made it egregious, was the 77. Flew out of the way of both of them. And I was like, he's still trying to give him to get make good for the Atlanta crash. But yeah, I just saw a lot of Chevys and a lot of people not cutting Ryan any breaks, but cutting William breaks the whole way through.
I think
I'm not complaining. This is how.
But you don't want this manipulation situation, right? But there were a couple Fords that I would thought would have, I don't want to say play hardball, but maybe maybe have made the 24's life a little harder.
The 21's the only one that I saw, like, as soon as Ryan passed him, duck right down back low for a couple corners.
Yes.
And, he eventually gave way, but Brad, there were some guys that, you're right, I thought would have helped. But the Chevy guys were tucking, especially when Ryan was trying to get back.
So
it is what it is. Nobody was it wasn't like last year, like what happened with the 23 and stuff. Like, that was super bad. But It's just something I noticed. But yeah, I was like content. I was like, okay, what an amazing
Yeah.
comeback, whatever. He passed him. I was like, I know he had to do the bump and run to get him, but I thought he was going to pass him eventually anyway. You could just see it happening. But it was just, I was hoping, I'm like, hopefully he has a little bit more in him here to keep it. And then the caution comes out. But
yeah. And it was thinking that, maybe there was an adjustment, maybe something would happen. They pump the tires a little bit better for the restart. Just hoping that, when he got down into 1 and 2 on that last restart at lap 290, he tried to do the thing where he pins the guy and it just didn't work. And that's because the 24 car was dialed in so good at that point.
And I wasn't even I know a lot of people, when the caution comes out, they're really excited. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to get him back now. But in my mind, I'm like, unless he is the control car, the 12 historically doesn't fire off as fast as other cars on a restart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's trouble. He's not the control car. That's another problem.
Yeah.
And William dominated the majority of this race and was up front and did this. So I was like, Ryan has a shot, but in my mind, I was like, he's going to have to be a little dirty about it and be able to sleep at night if he's going to win the race. So I wasn't overly confident. I think there were a lot of fans that thought, like, the only thing I appreciated, I was like, this is the only time that they are pretty much going to be heads up on the same tires, starting 1 and 2, best car and driver wins.
Yeah. The final restart, like I said, his only shot was to pin him down. And realistically, like I said, Byron had more car at that point. And that was just it. I mean, I couldn't be upset at that point. Like you were just saying, I couldn't be upset with it. The day overall was super. I mean, for a second place finish, for where they qualified and start the race back there, it was perfect. I mean, the only thing better would be to win the race, yes, but to watch how great a driver he is and to watch him just do what he did and then lead a bunch of laps. And some of those laps early in that run in the third stage were just textbook clicking him off, and was not gaining any ground. And it was just watching lap times, and Ryan's lap times were same, which means they were running perfect, both of them. And to be that consistent for 50, 60, 70 laps in a row, to run the same lap time as the best car on the track, the best car all
one
day.
difference too. Ryan, in that first sequence of leading and going through lap traffic, he was going through that lap traffic like he did the start of the race, passing all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when it comes down to the end, a lot of those guys were a lot tougher to pass. So one other question: if there was anything to do differently on the restart, again, he did the outside deal, which he tried to pin guys down, and it worked a couple times earlier in the race. The other strategy some guys do is to give up the front row and start third, because one opportunity you have is to push the guy up, either try to go 3 wide or something, or actually just physically push the leader through and actually get into and this is a little bit dirty, but you can push the leader goes high into the second place guy on the outside and you sneak through the bottom. Do you think that's something Ryan would have been okay with doing, or even being able to pull off?
The pulling it off part is the problem. Unless you get the perfect restart, or unless you push him at the restart, which you could get a violation for, especially if you spin him out in front of everybody. You're probably going to go into turn 1 and 2 with a gap. You're not going to get to him, and you weren't good enough to get to him to begin with. So within a lap or two, it would have been impossible. You would have had to basically pile drive your way into the turn and not brake.
And that's what I mean. Like, would he have been? I said earlier, like, was he going to have to do something and still be able to sleep at night? Like, could he do that? And I don't think Ryan's that. Again, there's a difference between what he did last year and what I think he would have done for a win this year. So,
it's just like somebody had brought up. We all waited for the inspection to be over with, right? right? Everybody's like, "Oh, the 24 is going to fail inspection," and the reality is, I don't want it that way.
Yeah.
There's no way I would want to hear for the next week about how he shouldn't be there because this one failed inspection and you finish second and you get the, because that would have been another whole week of like, and then he wins the championship and it's tainted and all that BS. I really like the quality way that Ryan races people, and for the most part, and like even his post race comments where that guy had the better car, and we did everything we could to compete with him. Those are the comments. That's the kind of guy I root for. That's part of the reason I root for him is that, he's a stand-up person about that kind of thing. And yeah, I'd hate for him to win a race like a bull in a china shop. If he can't do it like a gentleman driver, that's going to, sour a lot of people both directions, and even being a fan of his, it would probably sour me a little bit if he'd have done that.
So 2 things to talk about in his post-race comments. He did, a TV interview, he did radio interviews, and he did some more with like the media scrum right after. And he's asked about the bump and run. And Ryan says he didn't have a problem with it. He said, I would have done the same thing. It wasn't egregious. So if there's any fans out there that are still angry about that, or think I see there's one person posting on the one negative person on our Facebook comments is saying he hooked him, and Ryan knew he hooked him, and this is BS and blah blah blah. Again, we on this show like to kind of take a cue from the driver and see what Ryan has to say. Ryan says he's okay with it.
Here's the funny thing. Tim, at that point in time, coming down the front stretch, he says, inside, dive bombing you. Okay. So Tim's telling him that, but the thing is Ryan has left the door open.
He did.
There was enough room for the 24 to get there. Why Ryan asked that question later on about, did I give him enough room? Because Ryan left the door open. He got into it to get there, but it wasn't egregious. And once again, Ryan recognized that the 24 car was faster than him at that point. He knew at some point, because of the lap traffic, Ryan was having trouble at that point getting past the lap traffic, whereas the 24 wasn't. And it was just based on the way the car was operating. So Ryan, like I said earlier in the runs was, run the same exact lap times. But when it came to lap traffic at this point of the race, the 24 was better in lap traffic. So he kind of knew it sooner or later that the 24 was getting there. And he obviously had closed up the gap and knew it was going to happen somewhere.
Second insight Ryan gave was about why he thought maybe William got there. And he mentioned, and this is not the final restart, this is the restart before. Mm-hmm. And he says that William pressured him more than anybody had the whole race. There was a restart with the 11 where the 11 pressured him for like 3 laps, and I was nervous, but fell off like pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But on that run, the 24 stayed with him. Yeah. And every other run of the race, Ryan early on in a run was kind of able to save, especially once he got to 7th. Like he was able to save tires like at the beginning of a run and then start making passes. Yeah. Yeah. He didn't have that chance here. And he didn't say he burnt his stuff up, but he said like, I had to use up more than I had all race long. And I think that made a difference too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it more than anything else. Because like I said, that watching the lap times during that one stretch of run where Ryan was about 0.5 to 0.4 between the two of them, they were clicking off almost the same exact lap times the whole time, 40, 50, 60 laps in a row, the same exact lap times. And the thing is I think for Ryan, that was all that the car had. Whereas for William was just putting the pressure on, but by the end of it, William had more car. Yeah. So, like I said, sometimes the best driver skill-wise wins. Sometimes the best car wins. No offense to William, but I think the car is what really helped him over the edge.
And again, he sat on the pole, right, and dominated nearly the whole race until Ryan took control.
That's what I'm saying about that's why I said that about the car. No offense to William, but the car was that good all weekend. And it was a matter of whether or not he executed with it, and he did. So,
and he's a previous winner at Martinsville too. So it's like people shouldn't be shocked. It was more of like this kind of magical fairy tale that was unfolding in front of us for a 3rd year in a row, to where we're like, he's going to do it again. Like
Yeah.
Ryan got to the front, he got the lead. This is unbelievable. It's going to happen again, but sometimes you get a little bit of a reality check in racing like this.
You want to have some fun with ifs and buts? Think about Vegas. If Vegas, I don't even say he has to, win Vegas, but let's just say
actually going to
Vegas,
be my next question. Yep.
Yeah, let's just say Vegas goes where, they finish and they get some stage points and finish in the top 10. What is that? Let's say a couple stage points here, a couple stage points there, top 10, about a 40-point difference maybe.
And then they totally race Talladega differently.
They race Talladega a little bit differently. Hopefully stay out of the melees. And then come into this weekend and do what they did this weekend. If that all went that way, Larson would be out. Ryan would have pointed his way in on the day with what he did. And so that's why it's three races in that thing to get to the, it's not just one. And then, so I don't know what they're going to change the system to next year or whatnot, but operating within the system, if they would have had the 3 races they needed to have, they would have been there right now, whether they won or not. They would have been the point guy. And the thing is if you really want to pick apart a season, that's 8 DNFs, and they were still less than a second or two from making the Final Four anyway.
Yeah, that's. And again, I don't want to get like negative or anything, but one thing that I saw that we usually see, even before the race or something, was people complaining about the Penske cars. And mostly this is because of Joey, but even people talk about Ryan's championship run. They're saying, if like Ryan, if one of the Penske cars gets into Phoenix and wins the championship, like, oh, it's another proof here that, the playoff system's broken and it needs replaced. Sounds like it's going to get replaced, but
yeah,
it infuriated me because I'm like, Ryan's year this year would not be proof that the playoffs system is broken because he finished second in the regular season point standings.
Mm-hmm. Statistically, you were bringing it up earlier. I don't know if you statistically,
I have it here. Yep.
Statistically, he's better than a couple of the guys that are in the Final Four.
And that's the other thing. People are excited about Byron. Again, kudos to him. He won the race like he needed to. He got in the championship 4. If he wins next weekend, absolutely deserving champion. He won the regular season championship. But statistically, between Byron this year, 3 wins, Blaney, 3 wins. Byron this year, 11 top 5s, Blaney, 14. Byron this year, 16 top 10s, Blaney, 18. Byron, 4 DNFs, Blaney, 8. That's not a great statistic, but Ryan statistically is better than Byron in all categories except for laps led.
Yeah.
And Ryan has 831 and Byron has 1,278, and a lot of them came yesterday.
He had over 300 laps led. So yeah.
People it was just like, don't bring Ryan into the conversation as a way to prove that the playoff system's broken this year, because he would have been just as deserving as these other guys. Larson, 3 wins as well, same amount of top 5s as Ryan. He does edge him out on the on top 10s with 21. So it's just like, come on, Ryan's not the one to bring up. You bring up Joey, whatever. That Joey lags behind. He only has 6 top 5s, only has 12 top 10s, whatever. If he made it, if Joey won this race and made it, whatever. Say what you want.
Joey would have been the guy.
But not the 12. The 12 this year shouldn't be lumped in with the Penske lucks their way into championship stuff.
That's what I was going to say. That's the same thing that Jordan did on the teardown today, where he says something about Ryan being so much better than, a lot of guys. And then he says Penske, right? And as he says, Penske is horrible. And Penske, you got to relook at things and reevaluate things. And does Penske have to reevaluate things, or does Joey and Austin have to reevaluate things? Because truthfully, Ryan was, like I said, less than a second or two from making the Final Four. And, if you look at Joey's race yesterday, he was out to lunch by halfway through the race. It's not Penske as a whole. It's Penske's couple drivers that have to get better. And like I said, Joey last year, what he did was he took advantage of the situation, right? He gets to the final 8, he wins the race, he gets the championship, he wins the race. So, this whole thing about Penske being down or whatever that Jordan was trying to say on the teardown, he's way off. Penske itself is not down. There are a driver or two of Penske need to do better. And next year, whatever they change this format or system to, it's going to show that. It'll probably eliminate guys like Joey a lot quicker, right? And no offense to Joey, he did win a championship under these rules. Yeah. But you're going to see Ryan with his consistency, as good as he races. Like you said, he finished second in the regular season this year. Could you imagine if he didn't have all those DNFs and just got some average finishes?
If he finished top 20
he would have won
like 4 of those races.
He would have won the regular season. He right now would be the guy that you're looking at in the adjusted standings that they all like to do. So it's ridiculous that Penske's they're not way off. Penske is, one driver is there. The Ford flagship driver, the best guy in a Ford, is there. He's that close. He was that close yesterday. The other guys themselves have to get better. And it's just like I was going to say about, what you were saying about the championship and the Penske's, being at Phoenix. Get better. That's what I have to say to everybody else, right? You say the same thing to SVG, right? SVG wins how many races this year, right? Now, next year, SVG has to get better. And guess what? He is getting better, actually. He's scary the last couple of weeks how much better he's getting. And if he gets better in an oval, he might be the guy to beat next year at the end of the season.
So with the second place finish at Martinsville Speedway, Ryan kind of continues on what is outside of not being able to win a championship, another kind of career year for Ryan Blaney. That was his 14th, I mentioned already, 14th top 5 of the season. He's added on to this new record. Previously, the most top 5s he had in a year was in 2022 with 12. So now he had that in 2022 and 2024. He has 14 now. With the laps led yesterday at Martinsville, he had 832 laps led on the year. That is by far the most in his career. The most prior to that was in 2020 with 668 laps led. So he's not going to hit the career mark in top 10s this year, unfortunately. He did set that in 2021 with 20 top 10s. He's at 18 now. So if he gets a great finish next week, he'll get to 19. But either way, statistically, one of Ryan's best years setting those marks again, and everyone's saying it despite the 8 DNFs on the season. It's really truly incredible what they've been able to do and still be in contention for a championship despite some of those struggles. Taking a look now at the point standings. Again, the championship 4 of Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Kyle Larson obviously have advanced. So for them, it's just whoever finishes the highest. You don't have to win. Ryan kind of showed that in 2023. But Ryan now is bumped down into, they kind of reset your points back. So he is in the 6th position overall, behind Christopher Bell, who also didn't advance to the championship 4, who's in 5th. Bell has 2,629 points. Ryan has 2,685. Maybe mathematically there's some way. Really, the battle will be Ryan holding off Tyler Reddick, who's in 7th.
Yeah.
So Ryan's at 2,685. Reddick's at 2,702, and Logano is at 2,709, and Elliott is at 2,718. So the race really for the guy like Bell, if he just has a decent day, he's going to lock up 5th in the standings for the year. Ryan is really just battling Reddick, Logano, and Elliott to hold on to the 6th spot. So we'll talk about Phoenix in a little bit here, but that's kind of what, the pride will really be in trying to finish the best that he can in the points when it comes to that. So, and looking at his points finishes over his career as well. I'm trying to see rank. So he, in his career, he's finished outside of the top 10 only one time in a full-time season, and that was his very first season, was 20th. So all of his other finishes, 9th, 10th, 7th, 9th, 7th, 8th, 1st when he won in 2023, 2nd last year, and he's currently in 6th. So it seems like he could maybe get to 5th. 6th is really where, if he has a great race, that's where he's going to end up. So compared to the last couple of years of finishing first and second, he won't be there, but still it's incredible. Again, you bring up Dave and us always wishing Dave, had a better shot at things. Since 2017, Ryan Blaney has not finished outside of the top 10 in the point standings in his Cup career.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of us who are older, and I'm a lot older than you, and followed Dave all those years, and you did too, but I mean, it's a wealth of riches.
Yes.
Following his dad and hoping for a good finish on a good weekend and hoping they had the car dialed in and had a good weekend was just, a great thing back then. And now our expectations are just so much higher. And yet if you hopefully take a step back and look at it from the perspective that I am, it is so great. These, sure, we're not going to win a championship this year, but guess what? Next year is another really good shot at it. And even this weekend coming up is a really good shot at winning a race still, so it's so much better. You got to think back sometimes about 20 years ago, whatever it was, watching Dave, and now what we're getting to watch from his son, kind of take that into perspective a little bit and how nice it is.
So one last thing to wrap up when it comes to the weekend at Martinsville Speedway is our recap of the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. Steve and I will go through our starting lineups, our featured matchups, and then where we ended up along the way.
Let me go first because
go ahead.
Because the better guy should go second, right? I did. I made the Ryan move once I knew he was going to make the top 10, the first stage and all that. So I put Ryan in the lineup. I had one last usage of him. I put Briscoe in the garage, and that's great because he blew up. I had Bell, I had Hamlin, I had Byron, and I had Chase Elliott. So I had Byron, was 61 points on the day, Elliott 48. Hamlin only 7 because he blew up. So I had both blow up guys. If I would have had somebody different in the lineup, I'd have done well. Bell was 41 points. Ryan was 39. Now, the matchups is where it kind of gets messed up for me. I had, I got to kind of look over the screen here at my screen. I had Bell over Larson. I missed that by 2 spots. I did have Ryan over Joey. That was right. I did have Chase over Byron, so I missed that one. And then I had Briscoe over Hamlin. I missed that by 2 spots. Briscoe blew up first. So I left about 20 some points on the table there, 30 points on the table there. So but somebody who finished way higher. Go ahead and give us your lineup there, Adam.
Yeah, so you ended up 52nd overall on the weekend, 206 points earned. So I'll be honest, I set my lineup before we even left for the track. So this was pre-practice and qualifying. And my strategy was to put everybody in that was not locked in. And I still had starts for these guys. So I had Ryan Blaney, who was in a must-win, got me 39 points. Chase Elliott was in a must-win, got me 48 points. Byron was essentially in a must-win. He maybe could have pointed his way in, but honestly, actually, even in the end, if he'd finished second, he wouldn't have. 61 points from Byron, the winner. Logano got me 38 and Bell got me 41. So it was all guys that needed to have a really good day points wise. Bell was the only one above the cut line, technically, that I had in my starting lineup. And in the garage, I went with just a wild card here. And actually after practice, I was feeling good about it, not after qualifying. Josh Berry, I'm like short track guy from Virginia, home track. And when I watch practice, I'm like, great, awesome. This is going to be a great garage pick for me. And then he goes to qualify, and really he and Ryan ended up kind of in the same boat. I don't know if they had the same approach to their lap or what, but he did not qualify well at all and had a rough race. There's points when he actually did get up toward the front. But then, later on, he's not anymore and he gets spun and stuff. So Barry just never touched him, left him in the garage. He still got 27 points on the day, though. So I think he did get some stage points when he was running up toward the front. Featured matchups. I had Larson over Bell. That was right. I had Blaney over Logano. That was right. I had Byron over Elliott. That was right. And just by 2 positions here, I had Hamlin over Briscoe. It was the battle of the guys that didn't finish, the battle of the blowups, because both of them had engine issues. So that was correct. I had 267 points overall, and much like our favorite driver, Ryan Blaney, I finished P2 at Martinsville Speedway to my William Byron, who was Alyssa C.
Mhm.
So let's take a look at that. The top 10 in points earned this past weekend at Martinsville Speedway. And it starts off with a 5-way tie for 10th. With Penske Fan 24, Go 12 Go, Queen of the Caniacs, RF Blaney 12, and Dr. Race Chaser, who was at the track as well this weekend, 255 points. Then a tie for 8th between Blaney Biffle Martin 96 and Matt O with 257 points. The Crafton Truck Series was in 7th, 258 points. Angie 12 was in 6th, 260. Moose Hunter 1960 and Blaney's Daisy tied for 4th with 265. Charlie AB00 and myself, Team Blaney host Adam, tied for 2nd, 267 points on the weekend. And I said our William Byron of the weekend was Alyssa C, winning at Martinsville, 275 points. I think this might be the second time I finished second. The last time I finished second, it was like by a point or something, and I was really sad I didn't win. But I think, honestly, this might only be like my third top 10 on the entire year because I'm normally in the 50s or more. So I'm going out with a bang here. Let's take a look at the playoff standings. Again, we just do the playoff standings for fun because we believe in a 36 race traditional points format here in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. Vans 12 is in 10th with 1,944 points. Then Penske Fan 24 is in 9th. Alyssa C is in 8th. Go Larson is in 7th. Blaney Biffle Martin 96 is in 6th. Frank Fan 12 is in 5th. Charlie AB00 is in 4th. Blaney Kicks Beep is in 3rd. Doug QC is in 2nd with 2,002 points. And Go 12 Go, going into the final race, is leading in the playoff standings, 2,038 points. I am 36 overall in the playoffs, so much better than I am in the regular season. And your team, Mez 12, is in 15th in the playoff standings, 1,928 points. And you have an outside shot of getting into the top 10 if you have a really solid week at Phoenix. But top 10 would be an accomplishment, I think, if you could make up that ground. Overall standings, don't like these as much for me. But, and it's really where I'm at like every year in the 40s to 50s. I'm a little bit underperforming this year. 52nd overall for me, going into the final race, 6,139 points. Top 10 is as follows. The Daisy Dukes is in 10th, 6,655 points. Penske Fan 24 is in 9th, 6,693. Your team, Mez 12, still solidly in the top 10, 6,703 points. I think unless you have a total catastrophe or if you forgot your lineup, you should finish top 10.
Yeah. Sure.
Former champ Clyde's Chicken Pit Racing is in 7th with 6,755 points. Dr. Race Chaser is in 6th, 6,772 points. Blaney Kicks Beep is in 5th, 6,781. Pit Stop Pro is in 4th, 6,829. Bands 12 is in 3rd, 6,840 points. Go 12 Go is in 2nd, 6,847. And Alyssa C leads the way with a pretty healthy lead here, 6,908 points. And I would say, I mean, this is different, I guess, how fantasy works. So I'm thinking of it almost like a race, but more than just like a 60-point lead or something going into the finale here. So Alyssa C, things are looking up for you. And I just want to scroll through just to see if I can, maybe not. I was trying to see our defending champion where she ended up on the year. But I've seen Sherry kind of pop up in our standings here and there. So, So honestly, solid year for Sherry. Racer SF is the defending champ in the league. She's 13th overall, 6,607 points. So, technically she could, if she has an amazing day at Phoenix, she could maybe squeak into the top 10. But kudos to her. She said last year was her very first time ever doing fantasy, and she beat all of us. Yeah. And then she follows that up with a top 15 so far this year. So kudos to Sherry and what she's been able to do for that. So hopefully we'll be able to crown whoever wins next week. Maybe we'll put together another little trophy and send that off to them.
Yeah.
But looking forward to that.
So you want to talk about all 3 series who we predict to win this weekend coming up?
Sure.
Let's start with the trucks and work our way up.
So let's go to the
you got the TV schedule.
NASCAR
right?
Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah. So
the Championship 4. This is awful. Championship 4.
Yeah.
If you were to point out why the playoffs are bad, it would be this series.
Well, why it could be bad. Let's put it that way.
Well, it could be bad.
Could be bad if one of the other 3 win.
Corey Heim with 11 wins, a record 11 wins on the season.
Yeah.
Is in the Championship 4. Then you have Caden Honeycutt, who's driven for 3 different teams this year.
Yeah.
He's currently in the Halmar Friesen Racing number 52 is in. Ty Majeski, the defending champ, is in. Tyler Ankrum is in. One thing that the 52, the 98, and the 18 all have in common is, or the 18 did the 18 win a race this year? They do not have as many wins, as many points as he does have a win this year. So at least there's one. The 52 and the 98 drivers have been winless this year. I will say the 52 has shown more flashes of brilliance, I guess, throughout the year. I saw somebody saying, "Oh, he got fired by Nice." Well, I think the well-known secret is the driver of the 52 has probably taken over that 11 truck next year.
Yeah.
So he had to go to he probably signed that deal. He couldn't run a Chevrolet the rest of the year. They weren't going to be content with that. So he had to find Toyota help elsewhere. So he did battle his way at Martinsville to get there. But the guy that most people would say is deserving of being in the Championship 4 and he is not there is Lane Riggs, who all year long, if there was somebody competing with the 11, it was Lane Riggs. Love Lane, love his spotter. He made a lot of mistakes in this race at Martinsville, and it cost him a chance at the Championship 4.
It's interesting so Heim, Heim should win, correct?
Should.
I mean, a lot of people are saying
on speed, on talent, team.
But owners points wise, that's another thing. There's an owners points championship separate of the driver championship. And isn't the 34 in the owners championship?
He is in the owners championship.
So we could see one of these weird situations where the 34 is going to race, he's still racing for an owners championship and they pay out based on the owners championship.
And he should be good.
He should be good. We could see the 34 in a wild scenario finish, head after win. And beat the 11, and the 11 win the drivers, the 34 win the, just like I said, and the 34 is the only one, like you said, has been really competitive with the 11 all season in any way, shape, or form. And they've been hit and miss. But once again, they are in the owners championship. So, and we're going to talk about the Xfinity. It's the same situation. There's an owners and a thing. So, but I do see it pretty much should be Heim unless something happens to him.
Happened to him last year. I think it was he got roughed up in that race. So I'm gonna go with Heim as well. I think he's just going to start up front. He's gonna get the lead early. He's gonna dominate. The late race restart could be the only thing that gets him. Majeski, I mean, he won the championship last year though. Ankrum, I think the team-wise, something bad's just going to happen. Driver or team's going to make mistake. Honeycutt, he's been strong. The 52 is a strong car or truck. I just don't think it's going to be strong enough to win the race. So Heim is my pick there as well.
Yeah.
NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Yeah.
Connor Zilich with 10 wins on the year has advanced to Championship 4. Carson Quapple had made it in dramatic fashion. In that I mentioned the Xfinity Series race, being there to watch that earlier on Saturday. He got spun out late in the race and had to pass his way back up to point his way in. I think he went into the race with a 40-point cushion, and it was totally erased by the end. Excuse me. Justin Allgaier, he advanced on points a week ago. He is in. Jesse Love, also kind of in dramatic fashion, points his way into the championship 4 as well.
Here's another one of these situations. I could see Zilich or Allgaier, either or, but now you've got these owner point situation again, and the owner points brings 2 guys into the mix, one being the 21 and then the 19. And if the 19, I'm sure the 19 has Amarola in it, correct? And Amarola,
yes, he won the spring race there,
right? Well. And Amarola, yeah, and he drives with none given. He's only out there for one reason, and now he's out there for 2 reasons because they can win an owners championship. And you know that Gibbs is of all, the junior motorsports versus the Gibbs, and then once again you have Richard Childress Racing running for an owners championship, and their equipment in the Xfinity Series is way better than their equipment in the Cup Series. So there's a whole bunch of scenarios of different things where somebody can win an owners championship, but not win, and then somebody can win the championship but not win the race. I really think it should be Zilich, but Allgaier is one guy you just cannot count out. And on an oval, I think Allgaier is better than Zilich still. Zilich has won some races this year, yes, but he's won a lot of road courses, and he did win an oval or two too. And it was a big breakthrough for him when he won on an oval, but I think Allgaier is the guy to beat, actually.
Yeah, so Allgaier has had, and I hate to just keep picking the same people as you, Allgaier has had wins at Phoenix in the past. He had a horrible race last year. I think it was a pit road mistake, and then he actually had contact on the track too that sent him to the back, and he had to come all the way back. It was honestly an epic comeback for that team to win the championship last year. Could have maybe won the race, but Riley Herbst was basically like, I'm going to win this race or you're going to crash trying. So he backed off. I think his spotter, told him to think big picture. Yeah. So I think this, if any of the series, this is where the split is going to happen. Eric Almirola is super experienced. He's super aggressive. He's won multiple races this year in the 19. He just won in the spring at Phoenix. I think the 19 wins the race, and I think the 7 gets in on points.
Wins the drivers championship. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, so that's probably about right for me too.
NASCAR Cup Series again. Unfortunately, Ryan Blaney did not advance to this championship 4. You have Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, all from Joe Gibbs. Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and William Byron.
Yeah.
So 2 Joe Gibbs Racing, 2 Hendrick Motorsports.
This brings up this whole Denny deserving a championship thing with his career. I see a scenario where Ryan wins the race.
Mm-hmm.
And Denny finishes second. Wins his championship. But just like Ryan winning his championship, doesn't win it from the lead. I really literally can see Ryan winning this weekend coming up.
And we saw that with Ross Chastain in 2023, where, again, Ryan probably could have gone up and won the race.
Right.
Much like Riley and Allgaier, but Ross was willing to wreck the 12.
Well, here's the thing about that day, right, 2 years ago, is that Ryan was the better car.
Yeah.
Ryan was told, don't worry about it, okay, because don't wreck your race. I think this Sunday, Ryan will be the better car, and nobody will be able to get to him at the end of, if it's a long run at the end of the race and he gets to the lead, and the guys racing for the championship will race for the championship behind him as he wins the race. Just throwing that out there.
Again, and I hate just picking the same things as you, because that's what I talked about yesterday. I talked, I think, to Tara on our way home from the track today, back to Florida. I said, I think, there's a really good chance Ryan does what Ross does, and Ryan wins the race, and then somebody else,
Yeah, but the difference being he'll have the better car, just like he had the better car that day. He'll have the better car, and whoever's racing for the championship will be racing behind him in a manner that they're never going to get to Ryan.
So my pick, if I had to choose out of these 4 who I want to win, and I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan, I appreciate his candor and transparency on his podcast. I don't appreciate that he almost never gives Ryan credit for anything, including any of his wins, or no matter how much or how dominant he is. He always seems to make it seem like they kind of lucked into things, or other people had issues, and that's why. But I don't appreciate that. But for historic purposes, for a guy that's won the Daytona 500, he's won literally, almost like Kyle Busch, everything possible in this sport. 60 wins now, instant Hall of Famer when he's eligible. I say there's the talk about who's the best driver without a championship, and people are still saying Mark Martin over Denny Hamlin, and I think that's insane when you look at wins and you look at the level of competition now. I think people are afraid to say Denny because of how polarizing he is, but it is Denny Hamlin. I'm sorry. I want Denny Hamlin to win the championship for historic purposes and to cap off his career. Yeah,
and to watch him take that trophy with everything else that's going on right now with his ownership end of things, and to hold that and take that trophy from them people on that, that would be kind of spectacular too.
In the same note, if he loses, I'm not going to be sad about it.
No,
I just, for historic purposes, for a guy that is, you can say you hate to say like somebody's deserving. Well, you have to earn it too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, is of all the people is deserving of a championship with the kind of career he has. That's who I hope is going to win. I think Kyle Larson wins the championship.
I'm really rooting for the 19, to tell you the truth.
A great story. I mean, to go from Stuart Haas to this car that people doubted him. I mean,
exactly. What we talking about earlier about Dave having a chance to drive better equipment. Chase Briscoe fell into better equipment, right? And look what he did with it this year. Look at all the poles. Look what he's done. Look at the win when he needed to win. I can't help but not root for him in a way. And he seems like a really good guy from, what we've seen and experienced around him.
For sure.
So, I would definitely be rooting for him if, like I said, the Denny thing is like a completion of a legacy. And you could kind of see Denny, not that he's going to quit all of a sudden, but you could see him in the next year or two riding off into the sunset, happy and content with, there's a lot on Denny. Like in the last couple of weeks, you heard him talk about his dad got to see his 60th win, right? And to me, that says there's something going on there too. So for it to happen and to happen now, I kind of think that there'd be a lot behind that. And I could see, of course, everybody who wins a championship will get emotional, but I kind of would like to see that from him, to tell you the truth. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was a great, when he won that last race, the emotion, the crowd reaction, it was almost like everyone was kind of actually rooting for him in that moment. He was very humble with the crowd and said, normally I'd mess with you here, but this one means a lot, so I'm not going to. So again, I won't be sad if he doesn't, but if he does, that's fantastic. It's a great story for the sport. I think Briscoe and for Hamlin, it's great stories. I'm sorry, I just don't like William Byron. He seems like a good kid. I've told you he's an elite driver. He's never shown up in these situations in the past, late in the season, under pressure, and actually delivered. He finally did that. So kudos to him. If he does it again in Phoenix, great. Larson, I think he's going to win the championship, but if he went and left and raced IndyCar, if he went and left and raced sprint cars for the rest of his career, I'd be totally happy with that too. Yeah. So that's where we stand. Okay. So we're thinking the Himes of the world. We're thinking Allgaier. We're thinking Hamlin or Briscoe is kind of where we're.
I'd love to see Connor, just based on Josh being his spotter too. I mean, we didn't mention that, but congratulations to Josh and his wife, Brittany, with their announcement this past week. They put on social media. So Josh, they're going to have a little one. I don't know, was it February or March or something like that. So congratulations to them. The kid already has more hair than Josh, which is awesome.
Yeah, and if he can cap that announcement off with getting a championship on Sunday, that would be fantastic. Yeah. So
super for him, yeah.
So that brings us to the weekend at Phoenix Raceway. Let's tell you where you can watch it, because things will be a little bit different since it's championship weekend. The series get a little bit more practice than they normally would. So At least for what most folks are going to tune in, is going to kick off on Halloween, October 31st, this Friday. Practice for the NASCAR Cup Series is at 5:35 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch that on True TV or HBO Max. Listen to it on MRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, and it's going to be an extended practice session. They do that for the championship races, so it's not going to be just the 20 minutes. I think it's probably it's 50 maybe, close to an hour for the teams. And then 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, you have the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Championship race from Phoenix. You can watch that on FS1, listen to it on the NASCAR Racing Network and Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Then Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, you have qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series on True TV. Listen to it on MRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. And then 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you have the NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship race from Phoenix. You can watch that on the CW. And again, MRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, you have the NASCAR Cup Series Championship race from Phoenix Raceway, streaming on Peacock this week. Almost all year long, during this stretch, it's been on the NBC Sports app. But Peacock this week, NBC on TV, HBO Max for the in-car cameras, and MRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, again, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Ryan Blaney at Phoenix Raceway has made 19 starts in his NASCAR Cup Series career dating back to the 2016 season. 443 laps led. He has an average start of 7.5, average finish of 11.4, 13 top 10s, 9 top 5s. So statistically, like Martinsville and some other places, one of his best tracks all year long. Has yet to go to victory lane there, but has had, up until this spring race, he had an absolutely incredible string of top 5 finishes. From the fall race in 2021 all the way to the fall race of 2024, he finished in the top 5. Fourth, second, 5th, second, 28th in the spring. Engine failure. Was running well.
Yeah, in the top 5 at that point, I think. Yeah.
So he has 3 poles in his career at Phoenix. One of those coming in the next gen car. The other 2 in the previous cars. Again, 9 top 5s, 10 top 10s. All of that success there. Won a championship there, finishing second. Still has not gone to victory lane. You said it. You see a scenario this weekend where Ryan Blaney plays spoiler like Chastain did and wins the race while the others fight for the championship.
Yeah, and unlike Chastain, he won't be like all sour grapes about it either. You know, he'll know his place. He'll win his race.
Social media,
yeah,
their social media
right.
team.
He'll win his race. He'll walk off. He knows. You know, he'll know the situation. He'll read the room. But I really could see him in the race and the 4 playoff guys, wherever they are in the race, being behind him, and not in a manner where they can get to Ryan. That's the thing. Ryan could have passed Chastain 2 years ago. But the problem is they told him, don't worry about it. Just worry about the guys behind you. And he was faster than the guys behind him. This weekend coming up, he'll be faster than all those guys. He'll show it. And as long as there's a nice long run at the end of a race, he'll finish a second, 2 seconds ahead. And TV, don't get me wrong, TV will concentrate on the drama of the championship, and I'll be fine with it. Just go ahead and win. Just go ahead and get that first win there at Phoenix now, and then next year we'll win Homestead instead.
Here's something I would mention. So while he has an average start of 7.5 and he has the 3 poles at Phoenix, that is not a recent statistic.
No.
In the next gen car in the last couple of years, his starts are 15th, 16th, 17th, and 12th. So I much like what's actually at Martinsville, we were talking before qualifying, where do you think he's going to be? And I said 14th or 15th. I would say the same this weekend.
Same
I would
thing.
expect them 14th or 15th.
Yeah, they qualify 12th, 13th, 14th, and he'll work his way to the front in the first stage, and then, game on the rest of the race. Yeah, it's something about the program and the way it's set up and the way they do things. The speed is in the car, but it's in the car to race. It's not speed as like, oh, I'm just going to be out in front of everybody. Anybody can be out in front of everybody for 2 or 3 laps. What they do is worry about whether or not that car is going to be out in front of everybody 30 laps, 40 laps, 50 laps later. And that's what they'll do. They'll work toward that. And like I said, if they don't qualify great, that's okay. You watch how he races. And that's the most fun thing about being able to watch him these last bunch of years is that qualifying. And he's had poles too. But truthfully, I don't care where he qualifies. Let's have fun watching him race. He's a race car driver, and he loves passing people. And all the statistics this year prove all the passing statistics, prove that. So just can't wait for this weekend to cap off the year and see how they can finish it up.
So again, if you want to tune in this weekend, it's a little bit different. Things kick off on Friday, 5:35 p.m. Eastern time for the NASCAR Cup Series with a practice session, a longer session on True TV or HBO Max if you're streaming. Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, you have qualifying for the Cup Series on True TV, HBO Max. And then Sunday, the last race, the 36th race for the Cup Series, a 38th race of the year if you include the other events like the Clash and the All-Star race, 3 p.m. Eastern time. NASCAR Cup Series Championship race from Phoenix. You can stream that on Peacock, watch it on NBC, in-car cameras. I know we'll have those up on HBO Max. And hopefully have an opportunity to watch Ryan cap off a relatively successful season, set another career mark, and win his 4th race of the year for the first time in his career. That would be fantastic to see. And enjoy the offseason and reset for another championship run in 2026. Well, Steve, we went pretty long tonight. Actually, I think we had a lot to say, a lot to go through, plus the championships talk that took a little bit as well. So hopefully everyone still hung with us here all the way to the end of this one. Hopefully, if you did, like I said, if you're a little sad, if you're a little depressed with the way the race turned out, hopefully we're able to kind of talk through it with you as you're listening and you feel a little bit better about it and you kind of reset for Phoenix with another opportunity to see your favorite driver go to victory lane. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of the Team Blaney podcast during the week and on race day. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search for Team Blaney. We also like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Ryan's official charitable organization benefits brain health causes like UPMC Sports Medicine and the Alzheimer's Association. To learn more, visit RyanBlaneyFamilyFoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, X, and Instagram. So for my co-host Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We'll catch you next time right here on the Team Blaney podcast.
Congratulations again, Josh and Brittany.